Is the Orville just Star Trek The Next Generation now? It's Wes, and welcome back to another week of some sci-fi action. We're going to start out with the second episode of Orville New Horizons, or just the Orville Shadow Realms. And oh boy, do we have some ground to cover here. So it turns out I was wrong. Or at least so far it seems like I was. In my last episode about the Orville, I had mentioned that I thought that season finale was going to be a one-off, and that Orville would kind of slide back into its old ways of being a bit of a parody, a bit of a commentary on Star Trek. But in episode 2, we're once again back where we were before, but unfortunately not doing quite as good a job of what they were doing. Let me explain. First, we're going to talk about the episode just a little bit, because you've probably already seen it. If not, spoilers, watch what you're going to watch before you watch. In this episode, we see the Union brokering a new peace treaty that allows them to explore further into space. Now, we know that there are some horrors awaiting them, and immediately I was like, oh man, this episode is really serious again. But maybe, maybe they'll get their jokes back in there. There were 2 jokes in this whole episode. One of them, it was only kind of funny. The other one, I did laugh out loud, which was Bortus, a guy that we can always count on for a good gag. Unfortunately, I hope that he's not just the butt of a joke from here on out. I want to see a little bit more of Bortus again. The crew go on an away mission to a derelict, potentially, space station of a completely new alien race that they have already been warned about. Shockingly enough, they all make it back safely. Sort of. But they don't get stuck there, which almost always happens on Star Trek, and even Orville, and, everything else. But then, events unfold, and things change, and next thing you know, we're in an episode that is strikingly similar to the episode Genesis on Star Trek The Next Generation. Which leads me to my next point of commentary. First, what are we doing with Orville now? We are at the point where the budget is so high, and the concepts are higher, that they are in a very awkward situation. Yes, they are trying to, again, be an homage or perhaps a spiritual continuation to Star Trek The Next Generation, and that is abundantly clear in this episode. But unfortunately, it just doesn't seem like, as a production team, they are equipped to do that. Even though it's obvious that that's what they're trying to do, because one of the writers of this episode is Brannon Braga, who wrote so many and produced so many episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation and other series of Star Trek.
You've seen Star Trek The Next Generation, right?
I haven't, no.
But in this show, we end up with a lot of kind of wooden performances, and things just don't pay off the way that they even did on the one episode before. The episode previous to this, I just watched my video about that. Although it wasn't perfect, it did a great job of asking hard questions and posing problems, whereas this one, it never really got off the ground the same way. And so here we're left with what is almost like a husk of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Well, your wife won't let you have it on, has it?
Without the additional charm that the Orville often brings to the table. One scene that I was really looking forward to was when Lieutenant Tala was coming after the mutant crew members. I knew that she was gonna take them out. But oh man, the action scenes in this episode were not great. The physics of the CGI just did not hold up. Things were not moving right. It was really awkward, and unfortunately, that scene didn't have the payoff that I was really hoping for. I wanted her to have her moment to shine, and it just looked like a scene out of a video game the way that it was rendered, so that's kind of a shame. So I've got to say, I'm really disappointed here, and I hope that either A, they once again bring their A game and continue to try to pave new paths when it comes to moral choices and social commentary, or B, bring back the jokes and stuff. Now, I will say that the first 2 seasons, especially the first season, it was clear that the jokes were very much shoehorned in, and it wasn't always great, but I know that Seth MacFarlane can do that and do that well, and it's really clear that they're having a tough time finding their footing right now. So although Shadow Realms, it did give us a new direction for New Horizons, I can only give this episode a 6 spooky metamorphoses out of 10. And I gotta say, it kind of breaks my heart, because I'm really looking forward to this new season of Orville. Throughout this episode, the script was so clunky. They were writing to us as though we had never watched sci-fi before, and I don't feel like that's the target audience for this. There was so much painfully obvious exposition going on. And even Star Trek The Next Generation didn't go quite that far with it. And yes, that was more common at the time, but these days when it comes to sci-fi, you can kind of drop a bit of that and please have some higher expectations from your audience. Let me know your thoughts of Season 3, Episode 2 of Orville, maybe New Horizons. Am I way off base here? Do they have a new direction? I really want them to find their footing and find their place here. I don't want them to go full TNG. It's been done as much as I love
Star Trek The Next Generation.
I know that Seth MacFarlane has the ability to evolve it ever so slightly and create his own niche, and I'm still looking forward to finding that. But until next time, I'll catch you later.